Hi, Eliot Cooper here, and I'm here to talk about Bronzes Speak, and just a quick synopsis on the children's book. The whole story is about some statues that represent the late 1900s or early 20th century of children having fun outdoors. And these statues or sculptures were uh, procured by the Stevenson family out at the Denver West Office Park. And I used to work there for years in one of the buildings and walked around these sculptures many times. And what I thought was, instead of trying to make up in my own mind what the stories are behind the sculptures, I thought it would be best to actually write children's stories about the sculptures. And at the same time, since it's geared for an age group of about 5 to 10, I also thought that illustrating the sculptures would be appreciated by the young kids who would enjoy reading the book and looking at the pictures. So that's the background of, and I guess the other background that was important was that I actually had time during COVID to take on this venture. I've thought about it for many years, and but really, it wasn't until COVID where I found myself with some free time to really bring this concept to reality. So, like I said, it's a book about bringing bronze sculptures to life. And it's also a story about what children did at the turn of the 20th century or at the end of the 19th century to really have fun in their lives. And I think we've kind of lost that today with what children have available to them and the distractions they have with, video games and TV and so forth. This was back in the day where children had to entertain themselves and enjoy their lives, simple lives. So that's the story behind Bronzes Speak, and now I will talk about uh, uh, lessons learned that kids can learn from Bronzes Speak. And like I said, it's really children can learn that there are simpler times and ways to enjoy and live your life. That they can latch onto of what kids did a long time ago. And it's not just all, going to soccer games, playing video games, playing on social media, all that kind of stuff, or having their parents drive them around. And also during these times, back then it was not as dangerous to kind of be a kid and go out on your own. Where today, I think, depending on where you live, there's also that concern that has to be factored in. So that's really the lessons I'm trying to uh, uh, relate to young children, and at the same time, really enjoy these stories because they're happy stories. They've got some good lessons or points that are made, and I think at the end of the day, children will have a perspective of what life could be like, and not so much the distractions of life today. As far as the sculptures go, I never did uh, or was able to contact the artist behind the sculptures, and I did do some research, and they are, sculptures that have some well-known artists behind them. But as far as I can tell, they're no longer with us. But and another kind of sad story, which more reflects, today's climate, is that a lot of these sculptures in the last year were stolen. So when I went back this year to take some, maybe some better photos and look at my next round of the Bronzes Speak in episode two, uh, a lot of them were gone, and that really shocked me because they were so, you know, in the public view, so accessible, and just really created a lot of joy when you looked at them. To have somebody actually steal those was really disheartening, and I know it was also a big issue for the Denver West folks as well. So that's, kind of the world we live in today. But I think at this time, that crime really doesn't have to feed back to the children reading the book. They've got pictures of what was there, and they can still go out there and visit the sculptures that are still present, and there's still a lot of them left. And like I said, I was going to write four different chapters of Bronzes Speak because at that time I had 20 different sculptures. And so the future chapters may be reduced, but once again, there's plenty of content there. And I really look forward to getting feedback from parents and their kids when they read these stories to see if it really does brighten their lives and maybe give them a different perspective what it'd be like growing up in a more pleasant, calm, and peaceful world. So, like I said, there'll be some additional chapters or episodes of the other sculptures that are out there. But I also think this is a model that could be used for any part of the country that has, a lot of sculptures that are open to the public for viewing. And the one I recently got attracted to was in San Diego Bay. There's a whole group of bronze statues and sculptures reminiscing about World War II with all the different armed forces. And each one of those folks in that array of sculptures, I'm sure has a unique story behind them. And I'd love to tell that story and bring their lives back to folks today, because I know in a lot of cases they did sacrifice and ultimately pay the ultimate price. So that's the future plans, and I'm sure there's other sculpture areas around the country. I see them every once in a while individually around Denver, and some representing different time periods, a lot of the Wild Wild West, and I see some similar sculptures by different artists. So I hope folks keep making them, and if anybody has a good suggestion of another group of sculptures that can be uh, uh, written about, and some good stories, and also I create some illustrations, be more than open to look at that. Well, I'd like to say that I've read a lot of books lately, but my career has always been around environmental issues, and most recently it's been about the cleanup of contaminated groundwater. And I'm sorry to say that most of my reading time is based on reading technical documents and keeping up to date with the research and developments within the industry. So I'm a little lax on the favorite books that I've read, but I hope to start reading a little more as I get more time. But right now, I hate to say it, but most of my reading is technical and not that exciting. Although it's important because it relates to protecting the public from contaminants in water that they would drink either through groundwater or tap water. Okay, well, I'd love to read part of a chapter out of Bronzes Speak, and here it is. And that's one of the sculptures that I find most interesting. And that's in series one here. There's actually a story about that one. But let me Open up the first chapter and I'll read from that. And chapter one is called The Monster Challenge. And actually, it's about three kids playing sandlot baseball, a sculpture of that. And I turned that into a story, and I'll read uh, part of the first chapter. There's no way. Let's face it, we're toast. The monster is up at bat. It's all over, pal. Todd, the middle brother, voices his hopeless prediction to his oldest brother, Jimmy. The three boys stand huddled in a vacant lot. This grassy lot, scattered with patches of dirt and sand, is their baseball field. Their old license plates serve as first, second, and third base. One old hubcap is the pitcher's mound, and an old flour sack filled with sand is home plate. Anything that lands past the tree line is a home run, or as the boys call it, Monster Land, because so many of the monster's hits go there. The Anderson boys and their two pals hurried to this vacant lot this morning with hopes of getting in some good batting practice before you know who shows up. But to their disappointment, the boys were confronted by Big Terry, the monster, and his minions, the Charleston twins, as they soon arrived. The monster challenged the boys to a baseball game for ownership over the vacant lot. Big Terry squad versus the Anderson boys squad. The Anderson team is less of a squad and more of a ragtag group of neighborhood pals led by the three Anderson brothers, proud and tiny pillars of their neighborhood, with Jimmy being the oldest nine, Todd the more skeptical middle brother who just turned 8 last week. Well, that's part of the first chapter. I did want to show you a picture of the monster. Uh, and there's that picture. And you can see, let me get that up there. Oops. That he is kind of a scary guy. And uh, and so that's really what the story is about. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Sandlot, but it's kind of similar to that, except it's based on, a real sculpture and a story that most likely represents the late 1900s or the early 20th century.